Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Authenticity with Jera. We are live again today. Authenticity with Jera is a live stream we do every morning, except on the weekends. On Sundays, I tend to do it a little bit later to give myself some time to sleep in. But this is where we sit and talk about authenticity skills and just themes that come up around authenticity, which is, I think, the biggest work that we're doing now in the world. So I do have a small surprise for you all, a little pop-in guest who will be featured on the show in the future, probably several times. But she came back to see me for a little while, and then she'll be off again. So without further delay, I'd like to introduce you to my sweet daughter. This is my sweet daughter, Kid. She is 8 years old and a total world and universe mastermind and one of the biggest heart warriors that I know, and amazing with authenticity. So I will be bringing her back on the show to help us understand some different ideas around authenticity. She is really smart and has helped me a lot with this work. So I'm excited to have her back on for more than just a second to say hi. Oh, Dante is saying hola. Can you say that back? What is he saying?
Hola.
Yeah, which means
hi.
Yeah. My daughter is learning Spanish and American Sign Language in her homeschooling curriculum. All right, thank you so much, sweetheart. Mwah. Okay, so this morning I would like to talk about an element that is, to me at least, from my perspective, incredibly important, and that is creativity. I firmly believe that to have a fully authentic life, you have to get really creative. And there's a couple elements about this I want to talk about. First of all, when you hear creativity, you may have this block that comes up right away, because we're taught from pretty early on that if you're not good enough, then you can't be creative. You can't do art. You're not an artist. Put it down, go do something else. And that is absolutely not true. Actually, one of the greatest assets of being human is that we're incredibly creative and artistic, and every single person is artistic. Every single person has this deep well of creativity. It's one of our superpowers as humans. And if you in your heart believe that you don't have a creative side, you aren't in some way an artist, then you have yet to uncover what you really are, some of pieces of what you really are, because all of us are creative. All of us are artists in one way or another. How we define art is a little bit different. A lot of people define art in some odd ways that maybe not all of us are good at, but all of us have a creative side. All of us are artists, and that is something I would really, really love for us to shift into a different space to be able to see a little bit differently. Because creativity and the ownership of that is a huge piece of authenticity. And it just makes sense, right? Because authenticity, oftentimes in art, at least our society, is about noticing the presets, right? Noticing the constructs of society and deciding if those things work for us or not. But what if they don't work? What if sending your child to public school doesn't work? What are the options? Is that the only option? I think there's a lot of people out there who would believe that public school is the only option, especially for a single mother or a working mother or a working parent, a single father or working father. How would you do that? And I would say that the only block to finding a solution, like what do I do with my child if public school doesn't work for them, is to get creative. And let's look at another example. I live in a house with now my daughter part-time, and my two roommates, myself, and our dog, their dog, which is a 2-year-old pit bull. I don't know if you've ever met a 2-year-old pit bull, but they are bundles of energy, to say the least. And so if they don't get enough exercise during the day, at night they are loud. They do not want to be going to bed. They want to be up. It's exactly like a regular 2-year-old if you gave them some sort of substance. It is just outrageous. And so there's a lot of situations in a communal house like that where, the dog's barking, there's a child trying to sleep, and there'd be a lot of blame and a lot of well, how do we, and reactivity. But instead, we're a house full of people who go, okay, how do we get creative? Like, how do we look at all of the resources that we have, the few issues that we have, and apply the resources to the issues in a way that makes the most sense? And even maybe, perhaps, stacking some functions. So, and anybody who's familiar with permaculture will understand that reference. So instead of getting upset at each other, instead of getting upset at the dog, instead of feeling helpless, we come up with a creative solution. Get the kid and the dog together during the day. Make sure they run each other down. Make sure that the child has some earplugs at night so that if the dog barks, that's okay. In what ways do our needs kind of fit together in a configuration that can work best for everybody? And that takes creativity, right? It takes thinking outside the box, not allowing your reactivity to a situation to have the last word. And it's like, okay, this is a situation, it's not working, or we need something different. But instead of getting stuck there, being like, okay, pull back, big picture, all the resources. What are the issues? Let's apply the resources to the issues, right? And going back to the schooling example, I've done this with my daughter. The public school did not work for her for a slew of different reasons we'll get into in a different talk. But at that time, it's like, okay, what are the other options? Charter schools were too far away. It would have been an hour round trip during the day to take her back and forth to school. I wouldn't have been able to work. So what can we do? And we decided on homeschooling. Does that take a lot of energy from both my daughter and I to make that work? Yes. But if she and I can sit side by side, she can do her schoolwork, I can do this work with you, getting the videos posted and doing posts and running my coaching business and my speaking business. If we can do that side by side, I can answer her questions, she can feed me good information about authenticity. It just works. So, I would say that a large part of authenticity, as you can see, is being in a place where we stop being so reactive and coming from our presets. And when we look at our presets and something doesn't work and we're like, oh crap, that's not going to work for me, really drilling into how else could this work? And if we refer to yesterday's video, which I know is awful quality, I'll deal with that in a second, I promise. If we look at yesterday's video about needs, right? What we learned about needs is there's a difference between what a need is and what the strategy for getting the need met is. And so I think this is where creativity comes in, is we come up against our need not getting met in real life, right? Public school not meeting my daughter's needs or our family's needs. So the sending her to public school is the strategy to get the need met of education. But if that strategy isn't working anymore, I can pull back and go, okay, what are all the basic needs? Education, socialization, social awareness. What are all those needs that were getting met by public school? And then look and then pivot and say, okay, how can I get those needs met with a completely different strategy? And by parsing out what a need is versus what the strategy is for getting that need met, I can realize, oh wait, there's a lot of different strategies for getting this need met. And it's my creativity, it's how I apply my creativity to that process that helps free up the space to see other solutions, to see other options. So my challenge to you today, it's been a couple days since we've had a challenge. My challenge to you today is to see in what ways can you apply your creativity, in what ways can you drill down and feel your creativity that can be applied to the places in your life where something's not working, some need isn't getting met, some strategy isn't working for getting a need met, and how can we pivot and see a different strategy for those needs, but coming from that place of creativity. So I challenge you today to look at that place where creativity lives and find one little spot where you can apply the creativity to a strategy in order to open up a new place of authenticity in your life. That is the challenge. So moving on to some business. I know yesterday's video was really bad quality. I tried something a little different. It absolutely didn't work. So because my daughter came home yesterday, I didn't have time to film, but I will today. So we did a video yesterday on NVC as it applies to authenticity. I will be refilming that video today and putting it out on YouTube so that you can have a really good quality version of that information. But yeah, and then also in regards to NVC, as we've talked about today and yesterday, Wednesday, day after tomorrow, on the 4th of December at East Blair Housing Co-op here in Eugene at 6 p.m., we will be holding an NVC practice group. There will be a little bit of information at the beginning to get everybody on the same page, and then we'll talk about how NVC works or doesn't work in our lives and what themes come up and how can we use it in an everyday sense. So I'm really looking forward to that. It's a $5 suggested donation for my time, and there's already probably 4 dozen people who are excited to go. So it may be big, and that's really exciting. Alrighty, so I think that's it. Until tomorrow at 10 a.m. Stay authentic, everybody. Thanks for showing up.